Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today we're going to be looking at a deck that I did not expect to see seeing a huge amount of play, that just went and got top 32 at the Portland Regional Championships, and played by Christopher Schmensky, a very good, well-known player held in fairly high esteem. It's Lucario GX. And it's basically just Lucario GX. Now, we did a video fairly recently looking at the best partners for Lucario GX. Christopher came along and went, no, you know what? I think Lucario works better as a Pokemon on his own. Now, what is, of course, funny about that is that the Metal-type Pokemon Lucario actually had a fight alone attack, which did 30 damage plus 60 more for each Pokemon fewer than your opponent that you've got in play. That one never really saw any success fighting alone, and yet now Lucario GX has come along and is seeing play fighting alone. Now, we don't need to spend a huge amount of time on Lucario GX itself. We have done a couple videos about this lately, but it's mostly here about Aura Strike. 30 damage plus 90 more if this Pokemon evolved from Riolu during this turn. Nice and simply, all you do is you just evolve up and then you hit for 120. You get an immediate one-hit KO on a Zoroark, but it's not just Zoroark here. You add a Choice Band and a Strong Energy, for instance, and then you're hitting 170. That's a KO on a Tapu Lele. But you can add stuff like Regirock, and we're going to get more into this in a minute, but 2 Regirock, you're hitting up to 190, that's a one-hit KO on a Buzzwole. And if you can get one-hit KOs for a single energy on a Buzzwole, a Tapu Lele, and a Zoroark, the 3 most relevant GXs in the format at the moment, that has definitely got to be something worth having a play with. Now, the other thing to mention here, of course, is the GX attack. The second attack, 130 for free energy, is fine. You don't have to have evolved, etc. It's not something I'm terribly fond of. But Cantankerous Beatdown, firstly, great GX attack. Secondly, it basically does 3 times as much damage as is on you at the moment, which means that if your opponent doesn't one-hit KO Lucario, you hit them back harder. They do 70 damage to you, you do 210 straight back to them. It means that your opponent will often have to not hit you for fear of Cantankerous Beatdown, which will give you time to build up into a Cyclone Kick. It is one of the best Pokemon we've got in the format right now. It is a great attacker. And when I did a video the other day talking about how Lucario might become the new meta, that wasn't me trying to be cool and clickbaiting you. Look at the results of Portland Regionals over at LimitlessTCG.com, which is where I got the deck list for this deck. Because honestly, ladies and gentlemen, Lucario GX is now everywhere. And every other Pokemon that Christopher played in his deck is really just to back up Lucario. We see a 2-2 line of Octillery, just adding as extra draw power, because extra draw power is good. We see a copy of Tapu Lele, because obviously you need to search for supporters sometimes. We see a single copy of Buzzwole. What Buzzwole does here is just give you a slightly different opening attack. Firstly, it's a basic, so you can maybe use it on turn 1 if you go second, but it also hits the bench a little bit. If you haven't evolved, Lucario does 30, Buzzwole does 30-30. But Lucario's got the better first attack, the better GX attack, more HP. Most of the time, you are just going to be rocking Lucario. That's why there is a 4-free line of Lucario and only 1 Buzzwole. The reason it's a 4-free line, you don't need more than 3 Lucario, but you do need to get it out as soon as possible, hence 4 Riolu. And then we see 3 Regirock EX. Now that in and of itself is unusual. Regirock EX is generally played as a one-off. So why has Regirock EX come back here as a free of? Because you need to hit more than 120 with Aura Strike. As I've told you, ladies and gentlemen, Aura Strike gets an easy one-hit KO on Zoroark, but after that you need to get a little bit more creative. So what you do here is you go Choice Band, Strong Energy, and then you're doing 170. Which means with 3 Regirock you can actually be going up to 200 damage and one-hit KOing something like a Sylveon. Sylveon is going to be a slightly annoying card for this deck, and Sylveon was represented quite heavily in the top 32 in Portland. And the issue is that it gets rid of all your energy. So you never get a Cantankerous Beatdown or a Cyclone Kick or anything like that. So you need to be able to one-hit KO for a single energy. So what you do here is you use your free Regirock plus a strong energy plus a choice band. You can hit for 200 straight away. It's not always going to happen, but that's what this deck does. Make no mistake about it. This isn't a Lucario Buzzwole deck. This is a straight Lucario deck. Now, in terms of energy, you play 4 strong energy, because there's only 4 you can play in the deck. If you could play more, we would. And 5 fighting energy. General rule with energy is you play as many as you can get away with, and you need to balance having one to attack and having room for other stuff in your deck. Quite simply, ladies and gentlemen, you are usually, not always, but usually gonna just be attacking for a single energy here. So for that reason, you don't need to play a huge amount. You can get away with just playing 9 in total. Now, in terms of the trainer line, as always, there's a lot of things we expect to see here, and there really isn't that much different. The one thing that does stand out, 3 copies of Professor Kukui. Why? Because first of all, you're playing a 2-2 Octillery line, so you can afford to play stuff like Kukui that doesn't draw you many extra cards. And secondly, I told you that with free Regirock out, you're only hitting 200. And there's plenty of Pokemon like Golisopod that you won't be KOing. So again, it's not the easiest thing to pull off. But if you get yourself strong energy, choice band, 2 Regirock, Kukui, then you're hitting 210 for a single energy, and something like Golisopod is going down. And this is exactly what this is built to do. This is built to just one-hit KO whatever you like for a single energy. Take something like 160 HP in Empoleon. What you do here is you do 120, and then you add a strong energy to go up to 140, and then either 2 Regirock or a Kukui, and you're getting a one-hit KO straight away. Lucario is a good deck, and it's here to stay. We see 4 copies of Choice Band here, because the extra damage here is what really pushes this deck to the forefront. We need to do that extra damage. We see a full 4 copies of Floatstone, because generally you want to put Lucario in the active, attack, and then retreat. If Lucario had a retreat cost of 1, you wouldn't need 4 Floatstones, but it doesn't. So you do. Obviously, we see Brooklet Hill here, which is amazing for searching out either your Remoraid, which is nice, or your Riolu, which you will need to evolve into your Lucario. We see 3 copies here of Pokemon Catcher. Quite simply, yes, it's on a coin flip, but the whole point of this deck is just take 3 cheeky KOs on GX Pokemon. So firstly, you need Octillery because you're going to be end, because you're going to be taking early prizes here. You're going to be susceptible to N, so you make sure that your opponent can't just N you by playing a thick Octillery line. And then secondly here, we play Pokemon Catcher to try and get some cheeky prizes off the bench, along with 3 copies of Guzma, because, you know, Pokemon Catcher's still on a coin flip. And lastly, I want to talk about what isn't included here. There's no Field Blower, which means if something like a Garbodor comes down, then you might be in a bit of trouble because they're going to be turning off Octillery. Having said that, you are weak to Garbodor. And the only other attacker you're playing here is Buzzwole that's weak to Garbodor. So one thing we need to really acknowledge here, this deck will not do good against Garbodor. Maybe you'll be fast enough that you can just KO them, but again, you're talking about taking non-GX prizes, so you need to take more of them. If your opponent plays a heavy Garbodor line, you won't have a good game. Sorry about that. And actually in Portland, 1 and 2 were Garbodor Espeon decks, which you just don't have much against them. But that's okay, not every deck has all great matchups. You can afford to have the odd matchup. There also isn't anything here to help you recover. There's no Ace Roller, there's no Super Scoop Up, there's no Devolution Spray, so when your Lucario evolve, that's it. they stay evolved. You can't just reuse them here. You can't keep re-evolving. So you've basically got 3 big attacks in the game, which is kind of nerve-wracking as a player, because you've only got 3 big attacks and you need to use them. But then again, you'll often be going so quickly that you can afford to take a couple extra turns to attach more energy, or just use the odd Buzzwole. Either way, I'm a fan of this deck. If we look at the deck list as a whole, it came from Limitless, as I've said. We've got Evo Soda here to try and evolve your Pokemon a little bit more quickly, and everything else, I mean, you've got 4 copies of Professor Sycamore because you're going for just absolute pure speed here. We've got 2 copies of Cynthia, 2 copies of N, because they're the other good draw cards, and we need as many good draw cards as we can get our hands on. 4 copies of Ultra Ball because it's the best Pokemon search in the game, so you need to be playing 4 of them to get your Pokemon out. And 1 copy of Super Rod because sometimes you need to recover Pokemon and or energy. So that's what you do. I like this list. I like that instead of going for a partner, Christopher just went Lucario so good, I can rock with this myself. The other thing to mention is, Lucario is here to stay, and it is a promo only at the moment, and I don't think it's going to be released in a set, so I would heartily recommend going and picking them up now. Maybe the Full Arts and Rainbow Rares get released in sets in the future, but there's no guarantee. Lucario is great, ladies and gentlemen, and it's here to stay. But I would like to hear from you, lovely ladies and gentlemen, so let me know in the comment section what you think about Lucario. Go nuts, but remember the rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do that. And do check out my video game/Dragon Ball Super channel, Wassy Plays, for some more lovely Wassy themed action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.